Good. Very good evening to everybody and welcome to this next in our Music Revival live stream online series. This is Christopher Daigan coming to you from our home in KwaZulu-Natal, and I'm hoping that you can join us for the next hour in the selection of In Concert on Saturday night. Today is the Saturday the 12th of February, and I am going to be playing in concert selection of popular classics. As I always say, we all love to hear the popular classics. These classics are popular for various reasons. Some of them have titles. Most of them, I think particularly, they have such very succinct ideas that evoke such strong emotions and such strong reactions, which makes them popular. And these are pieces that we really want to hear again and again. So I'm going to play a selection of I think 8 or 9 pieces this evening, which are very, very well known, including Debussy's Clair de Lune, 2 pieces by Felix Mendelssohn, Ravel's Pavane, and the famous celebrated Fantasie-Impromptu and the Waltz in C-sharp minor by Chopin. If you heard something a bit odd there, I was playing a really nice, I thought a very nice improvisation, and then my iPad had a little malfunction and fell over, and the support got caught up in the string. So you heard a little bit of metallic sound, sounded somewhat like a prepared piano of the music of John Cage. John Cage, the great American composer of the 20th century, really evoked or really brought about very new ideas and really looked at what music was really about, a collection of sounds. And he prepared the piano, prepared, being a big word, because he had this technique of sticking things into the strings like knives and forks and bits of rubber and clothes pegs at particular points, so the piano sounded like a different percussion instrument and not like a piano at all. It was very, if you're interested, do go and look on YouTube. You'll find some very interesting music by John Cage. Of course, the most celebrated piece that he wrote 4 minutes 33 seconds, where the pianist opens the piano lid and sits in silence for 4 minutes and 33 seconds. And of course, all the sounds around and the ambient noises are really what constitutes the music. Of course, if John Cage had little Lucy nearby, we would have had a squeak or two from her. There we go, little Luce, in the performance. So this evening's program, as I said, it's always, we all look for comfort and we all look for familiarity and predictability, a way to move forward in a positive way. And certainly these live stream programs, I mean, we've been very regular in terms of our appearances. This is number 107, 197, we're coming up very closely to 200 every Wednesday and Saturday for almost 2 years. And I'm sure for many of you, the predictability and the reliability of our appearance at 6 and now 7 p.m. has been quite instrumental or quite crucial in that source of finding the familiarity and the dependability. So here we are again, thanks to Barry for all the support that he's provided. And of course everyone, including Lucy and Kevin, Liddell, Johan, and Andrew, who've also supported our project for so long. So I'm going to dive straight into the music with some very well-known music, and I'm starting off with a piece that I know is a favorite of many, predictability and a grand flourish to start off with the Harmonious Blacksmith Variations by Georg Friedrich Händel, or Georg Friedrich Händel if you prefer his German origins. And Händel, obviously born in Germany and moved to England. He was trying to escape. He had a rather unfortunate altercation with one of his employers. I think it was George of Hanover, the Elector of Hanover, where he was employed in Germany. They came to blows about various duties that Händel was expected to fulfill. And he left, he absconded, he left his post without notice. There was a big political problem, and Händel was not in anyone's good books. He left Germany, went to Italy, and then ended up in England. And by a rather unfortuitous for Händel circumstance, set of events, his previous employer, the Elector of Hanover, ended up being George I of England, where Händel was now trying to find way into the royal court, where George I was now king. And of course, Händel didn't start off on a very good foot there, but it seems it all ended up quite well. Anyway, nothing to do with this. Händel has this story attached, not true, but it's still a lovely story, that Händel escapes a London shower, an afternoon summer shower in London, and dashes down an alley to seek cover, and ends up in a blacksmith's workshop, where he hears the blacksmith whistling away this tune, and it's a very merry tune, it's a very positive tune. Handel's so taken by it, he writes it down later on, supposedly, and writes a set of variations around it. Not a true story, but a nice story, and we like nice stories. We all like stories with happy endings. And so this is Handel's the fifth movement from the suite in E major by Georg Friedrich Händel. Great sense of flourish and comforting. It's all about comfort and positive moods this evening, because you hear the melody, and the same melody is repeated again and again and again. The same structure, the same series of chords, the same rhythmic element, the same rhythmic drive of the piece is repeated again and again and again, and builds into this resounding crescendo, and that provides excitement, comfort and predictability, and then we all know it's going to end. Straight after that, I'm going to play the opening Song Without Words from a great volume of Song Without Words by Felix Mendelssohn, lyrical pieces. Listening to these pieces today just confirms once again how so many types of music, I think, really work well on the live streams. And I think this Mendelssohn, this type of music, these songs without words, which I really must play more of, are particularly interesting. They're often seen as domestic music, as sort of home music and not great concert music. They've got very beautiful ideas, but are not big dramatic pieces. They're more intimate and more subtly presented. And seeing as you're sitting at home and I'm sitting at home, well, actually domestic music is great. And these big dramatic sonatas of Beethoven and the big concert works of Liszt often don't really transfer, I feel, well into this live stream drama. We try to avoid drama here. We try to create calm and predictability. And then the third of the Mendelssohn, or third of the pieces, also by Mendelssohn, his famous Rondo Capriccioso, a rondo being a little melody which you hear repeated again and again. It comes back, something else, it comes back, something else, it comes back, and that's the rondo. The fact that it goes around and in a rondo shape, the opening melody returns. Capriccioso being capricious, so a capricious rondo that is playful and joking. It's a really brilliant piece of music, which is very challenging. I find it very particularly challenging to play. I struggle with all these fast, light notes, but I'm going to give it another bash today. So here we go, Händel and Mendelssohn's Song Without Words and the Rondo Capriccioso. Mendelssohn's Rondo Capriccioso, such a fleeting, frightfully tricky little piece to get that lightness and that brilliance, but we seem to have got through. Can always try again better next time. So before that, you heard the opening Mendelssohn Song Without Words from the vast volume, many songs, a whole volume, large book of songs without words, which I really would like to work more on. And opening that sequence of 3 items, the Harmonious Blacksmith by Georg Friedrich Händel. And our second section of pieces of popular classics, I'm going for very well-known classical piano pieces, and really some of the most celebrated and the most comforting and the most predictable and reliable pieces that we have in our repertoire. And I'm going to start off with the very wonderful Pavane for the Dead Princess, the Pavane pour l'enfante défunte. And I was always said, I used to get a bit puzzled about this because I got mixed up with the infante being the infanta, a child princess of Spanish or Portuguese culture or background. I used to always think it was a dead infant, but it actually really was a dead princess. Although Ravel very clearly said to a student once who was playing this piece far too slowly that it was all fictitious. There was no dead princess, and he said the princess didn't die, and nor should the Pavane. Please don't play it too slowly. It shouldn't be too somber and too morbid. It was really a fictitious and a fanciful title that he invented to really conjure up the idea of a very ancient piece of great solemnity and great austerity, but at the same time with a very beautiful and a very clearly punctuated, you might say, harmonic language, these beautiful dissonances. When I say dissonance, these are dissonances. Sounds that we don't normally put together as opposed to consonances, which we call harmonious, which seem to work very well. Ravel puts things like, which in traditional harmonic terms we'd call a dissonance, but Ravel includes them with just such the right detail and such the right perfume and fragrance just at the right point that it just gives this beautiful sound and this atmosphere to the music. Straight after that, I'm going to dive, of course, into our favorite Frederic Chopin, the Polish composer, and play the wonderful C-sharp minor waltz, great favorite of mine and I'm sure of many. And then I'm going to end off with that section with the Fantasie-Impromptu, which is interesting because out of many of the pieces, when you think about the Pavane or Clair de Lune, which I'm playing later, or the Moonlight Sonata, these all have very fanciful and definite titles, but the Fantasie-Impromptu is not really a fanciful title as well at all, but really a very celebrated piece. There's just something uniquely direct that speaks from the heart and very succinctly and very perfectly in Chopin's musical language. that selection of three pieces. I ended with the Chopin Fantasie-Impromptu, and before that the Chopin Waltz in C sharp minor, and I started that selection of three with Ravel's very famous Pavane for the Dead Princess. Now, normally I wait until the end of the Saturday stream to bring little Lucy into the picture, but Lucy is so keen. Hello, little Luce. How are you feeling today? Are you feeling better? Yes, Luce was very grateful. More than one person offered to call and offer Luce some counseling because she wasn't feeling well last week, but I think someone did get through. Yes, you did. Someone did get through to you, and you're feeling much better. You're all calm and collected. Is everything just perfect, Luce? Hey, you want to do a little Lex? Okay, we have to wait afterwards, Luce. There we go. Now I'm going to end off this evening session with another two compositions. These are a program of beautiful, the most popular classics. I'm not afraid of playing these pieces. I think people love hearing them because they are so, as I say, they're so succinct. They evoke such incredible memories and emotions, and it's all just wonderful to hear music that we know, and it's so predictable. I mean, that Fantasie-Impromptu is, I think, such a perfect composition. It might not be Chopin's most complex or most profound or most kind of erudite music, but it's composed so incredibly well. It's so beautifully put together, and the thought and the ideas in it are so direct. I think it's really what that makes that music so powerful and works so well. So I'm going to end off this evening with two compositions by Claude Debussy. They've celebrated a French composer from the early 20th century. This is the famous Reverie that I'm going to start with. I'm not sure if this piece was so well known in its own time, but it was really popularized when it was turned into a popular song, and in the 1960s or 70s. And so many people know this. It's just a beautiful melody, again, with such interesting chords and interesting sounds, a daydreaming, a reverie of this atmosphere that floats. And then to end off, the wonderful Clair de Lune by Claude Debussy, an early composition. He composed this early in his career. The composer Debussy, for me, like no other composer, has so many distinct styles and distinct styles of composition. His music from his very early youthful compositions from his young days sounds completely different to those of his middle days, which sounds completely different to those of his last compositions that he wrote. It's like they are really 3 or 4 different composers. There is a thread, understanding, you'll always hear something about it, but it's really, he approaches music from such completely different angles. I don't think any other composer equals the variety and that change. So Clair de Lune, a piece of music that apparently he had written as a youthful composition, and this, he was publishing a suite, Bergamasque, a piece of music that drew on quite rustic elements and rustic dances and some quite sort of grounded elements, you might say. And he needed a nice, beautiful, slow composition to complement the set of 4 or 5 pieces. And then he realized, oh wait, I've got this thing lying in the bottom drawer. Let me just sketch it together, finish it off, and put it in and see what happens. And Clair de Lune, of course, earthy, moonlight certainly is a great influence. And there's just something magical about this music, which, apart from the title, has captured people's imaginations and hearts ever since. So this is the Reverie and Clair de Lune by Claude Debussy. That was Claude Debussy's Reverie, followed by the wonderfully beautiful Clair de Lune. What magnificent music that really is. I just always see so many possibilities in that piece. It's such a wonderfully varied, and it really speaks about so much more than moonlight. It really is the final word. There's nothing that can be said after that. Of course, Lucy's going to have something to say. Hello, Lucy. So, Lucy, did you find this program of music to be quite enjoyable? Yes, you were very pleased because you recognized all of the tunes, because when you did music appreciation in Switzerland finishing school, you recognized that you learned about all these pieces. Yes, and it really is lovely to hear everything we know. Thanks, Luce. That just confirms what I was thinking. That's very, very good of you. I'm pleased you were thinking that. Let's see who else is here. Let's see. We've got Wendy Pop is yes. Frida Pop is very keen to come. Hello, Frida. Oh, Frida, you had a little unfortunate turn. Frida got locked in the greenhouse for a little while this morning. It was very unfortunate. Yes, you were barking, and no one. It took a while for us to come and rescue you. Sorry about that, Fried. But now everything's fine, and it's all forgiven. Yes, absolutely. Frida, look at you. You're such a sweet thing. Oh, no, Lucy's jealous. And quickly, let's just have a look at little Wendy Pop, not to be left out. Hello, Wendy Pop, Wendy Pop, Wendy Pop. Wendy Pop's coming. Wendy Pop's got the big waggy tail. Yes, and Wendy Pop. No, you weren't. You were just snuggled up in bed for most of the day. You weren't locked up anywhere. And yes, you've also very much enjoyed the music, even though you didn't get the chance to go to Switzerland finishing school. Now, I know that. But Wendy Pop's a very clever, very astute little dog. Yes, and that's brilliant. Well, that brings us to the end of this evening's session. Thank you to Barry for the technical support. Thank you for joining us. I hope you've enjoyed this very beautiful. Gosh, I didn't quite expect it to turn out quite like that. I was really focusing on the popularity of the melodies and the titles. Hopefully, by the end of a number of these concerts, I will have got through 100 popular classics. So join us on Wednesday if you can at 7 o'clock, when I will be playing a whole fresh new selection of music, many of pieces I've never played before, and many of which I'm sure you've never heard before. A real very wide range of music. And then next Saturday I'm focusing on some not so well-known and more sort of adventurous parts of the repertoire, and I'll be playing a G major sonata by Schubert and sonata in C major by Mozart. So I hope you can join us for that. Barry's pointing wildly to the camera. It must have disappeared. Oh gosh, yeah, no, this is a family show, girls. Come on, behave, be nice. Not that nice. Sorry about that. Thanks for warning me. So, if you are able to support me, of course, these programs do go out from Barry and I to all of you as a support, as just an act of just sharing the possibility and the joy of music. And I know that it means and has been able to support and uplift and bring joy to so many people. And if you are able to support, of course, I'm very, very grateful for any financial support that comes through. If you can't and you are enjoying it, that of course is absolutely fine. It's a project that's been wonderful for both of us to work on, and that we believe in the possibility of sharing this regular music stream free of charge. So, look forward to seeing you next week. Look after yourselves, stay well, keep well, and enjoy the music. Just a reminder, if you have missed any of the streams, many people are asking, they feel that if they don't see it live, they can't catch up. Well, in fact, they are all at my YouTube channel. If you go to YouTube and you'll have a search function at the top and you type my name in, you'll go to my YouTube channel or my YouTube page, and you'll find all 197 previous hour-long live streams there, and you can watch them as many times or as often and whenever you'd like. So do catch up on what you've missed out on if you'd like to, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Stay well.